McDonald's is one of the largest owners and holders of real estate in the world. A large portion of how McDonald's makes about 35 to 40% of their revenue is through real estate, and from owning the real estate and leasing it or renting it back to the franchisees that put a building on the land. Pretty crazy. So why will you go broke owning a franchise? I saw the title. Very curious. I want to know the reason why. So let's dive into it.
You're done with the rat race and ready to start living your dream, owning your very own McDonald's franchise. Not only will you be your own boss, dishing out Happy Meals and Big Macs to all the Mickey D fans, but you'll have all the fries you could want right within reach. What could go wrong? Well, for one thing, opening a McDonald's franchise costs money, a lot of money. McDonald's is one of the biggest chains in the...
Yes, a lot of money. I just so happen to have the data right here on exactly how much they cost to get up and open, because you're probably wondering that. And part of the reason why I have this, because I am the CEO and founder of a company called Franchise Empire. And so I study franchises all day, every day, and look at their numbers. So the startup cost for a McDonald's is between 1.4 million to 2.7 million. That's the startup cost of how much it costs.
In the world, with over 37,000 stores across 100 countries, serving a shocking 69 million customers a day. Not only are they the biggest name in most fast food countries, but they can be found anywhere people are passing by, in malls, train stations, airports, and office buildings. They're even the second biggest private employer in the world, with over 1.5 million people wearing that distinctive uniform. They have a brand and an image to preserve, and that means joining the family isn't going to be easy. From the start, McDonald's wants to make sure you're going to be able to carry the costs of a franchise. With a franchise, you own the restaurant and can make your own decisions as long as you abide by some basic regulations for representing the larger corporation. So you won't be answering to a boss on the reg, but they want to make sure you'll represent them well. That means no one who's going to go bankrupt in a few months.
That was one of the best explanations of how a franchise works in a very simple format. Some people wonder, hey, if I own a franchise, do I get to hire and fire my own employees? Does the franchisor tell me exactly everything that I have to do? Well, you get to hire and fire your own people, which is great. The franchisor legally actually cannot get involved in helping you hire people for your business, something called the joint employer rule. I'm not going to go into that in this video. But overall, you're following the system, the branding, the menu. You can't make up your own products, but you get to run the day-to-day of your business however you want, essentially, as long as it's within the rules of the franchise.
Which is why the door has a pretty big entry fee. Before McDonald's will even consider you for a franchise, they're going to want to do a deep dive into your personal finances. If you have less than $500,000 of personal resources, you probably shouldn't even apply. Although there are limited opportunities if you have a good argument for an alternative. But
no, there's not. Yeah, and $500,000 of personal resources, that's a very abstract statement. So typically you're going to need at least a bare minimum $1 million net worth. Let's see, what do we have in our document after we did the breakdown of McDonald's? Yeah, we didn't state their financial requirement, but guys, I mean, if you're gonna try to own a McDonald's, you probably need to have at least $1 to $2 million net worth. And McDonald's, from what I've heard, requires you to have put 50% down in cash for the restaurant. So if you're opening between 1.4 million to 2.7 million, that means you need between 700,000 to basically 1.4 million down as a down payment that you're putting.
There's a good reason why McDonald's wants to know your resources before you start. They want to make sure you can afford the down payment. And that's where your first big choice comes in. Do you want to build a new McDonald's from scratch? This will take more resources, including retrofitting an existing building with all the usual McDonald's treats and tricks you love, and the costs will vary. Turning a former Burger King into a McDonald's will take less resources than turning a bank or a shoe store into a fast food restaurant, but the company will generally want 40% of the total cost paid up front before they break ground. But if resources are a little tight, there's another option. Do you have an old McDonald's in your neighborhood? Do those old arches haunt your memory, calling back to when you could get your McNugget fix in a 5-minute walk? If you take over an existing restaurant that's still functioning or recently closed, you can get a discount on the down payment, only 25%. Is that a good buy? It depends on why the restaurant closed. If it fell prey to a recession, go ahead. If it went viral for that iconic hash brown rat video on social media,
That's funny. And just goes to show, like, there's even McDonald's locations that fail. So franchising is not fail proof. There are still franchises that fail. Could be based on the operator, could be based on the market, could be based on a variety of different factors. But franchises are not fail proof. In every franchise location, you have a top performer, low performers, average performers. That's just the way that it works. That's the way that statistics work overall and in general. But most of the people are going to build a new McDonald's from scratch. Like in our area, I've seen 2 McDonald's that were built from the ground up, and that's going to be on the more expensive end. Here's what people don't realize, by the way. You probably have not realized this. Maybe you've watched a video where you've learned this. McDonald's is one of the largest owners and holders of real estate in the world. And a large portion of how McDonald's makes about 35 to 40% of their revenue is through real estate, and from owning the real estate and leasing it or renting it back to the franchisees that put a building on the land. Pretty crazy.
it might be more trouble than it's worth. But the payments don't stop there. McDonald's has to get something out of the deal, so once you sign the contract and open your restaurant, you'll be paying them going forward in 2 ways. You'll be responsible for a 4% service fee based on your restaurant's sales performance, as well as rent. Rent is judged as a flat percentage of your sales, and these 2 fees usually don't change over the course of your contract, so make sure it's all baked into all your plans. At least once that's taken care of, you're cleared for takeoff, right? Not quite. Running a McDonald's franchise is a lucrative business. The average gross profit in the United States is around $1.8 million, which means there.
But gross profit is essentially your revenue minus your cost of goods. That's it. It's not net profit. After your gross profit doesn't include rent, as an example. It doesn't include rent and a variety of other expenses, utility cost, administrative cost. What is factored into gross profit is typically your cost of goods. So the cost of food, the cost of the paper bags and the ketchup and the straws and all that stuff, and the cost of labor. Then you have gross profit. But let me give you the official term so that you know what it is, because that is a really misleading number to show. Because most people, I remember when I was first looking at in a franchise 10, 11 years ago, I'd see $400,000 or $500,000 gross profit. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're making that much money. Not knowing that gross profit does not mean net profit. Like what is all left over after all of your expenses. So exactly like I said here before, guys, gross profit is a company's revenue minus the cost of goods, representing the profit from sales before accounting for operating expenses like rent, salaries, and marketing. It's a key metric that shows how efficiently a business produces and sells its products or services by measuring profitability before indirect cost and the direct cost associated with producing the goods or services sold, including materials and labor. So, yeah.
Business, the average gross profit in the United States is around $1.8 million, which means there are a lot of people ready to get their McMuffin fix every morning. But with great profits come great responsibility, and running a McDonald's franchise comes with a whole lot of hidden costs that can take even the most successful franchise owner by surprise. And it starts before you open your doors. The startup cost of a McDonald's franchise is high, averaging just under $1 million on the low end and over $2 million on the high end. This depends on what kind of facility you're taking over, what size the restaurant is, and how much.
Yeah, we already talked about that. I should have had that at the beginning of the video. According to their most recent franchise disclosure document that was issued April 15th, 2025, 1.47 million to 2.7 million. So it doesn't start under $1 million.
It is McDonald's. No deep fryer needed to make subs, yet. And despite the high price tag, it's not impossible to make a profit. So how much of McDonald's franchisees' gross profit winds up going back to the company? The average franchisee pays between 8.5% and 12% in rent and other fees every month. And that doesn't account for upgrades, which are unpredictable and can show up at any time. But most McDonald's around the country are franchises, and the company shows no sign of slowing down. That means that if you have the resources and open up a franchise, some savvy business sense is likely to leave you with a pocket full of money for all those McNuggets you want.
Okay, guys, so they literally did not talk at all about why you would actually go broke owning a McDonald's franchise. So I think it's a bit of a ridiculous statement to make, given that there are literally 38,000 McDonald's locations all over the country. The reality is that it takes millions of dollars to get one up and open. Food businesses is known to have a very low profit margin. You can look this up. This isn't a quote on McDonald's profits exactly, but you can look up that the average profit margin for a food business is around 5 to 10%. So even if the average sales, which you're probably wondering what they do in terms of average sales, we have some numbers that we can share from from some videos that we've done and some looking up some of the numbers. You can see here that for McDonald's restaurants opened at least 1 year as of December 31st, 2024, about 79% had annual sales over 3 million. Approximately 72% had sales over 3.2 million. 65% had sales over 3.4 million. And the average annual sales volume for restaurants open at least 1 year is 4 million, right? Lowest sales, 914,000. Highest performing location, $19 million. So average sales of $4 million. If we were just to play a game and say, okay, based off of, food businesses in general doing 5 to 10% profit margins, let's even say 10%, that's 400,000 a year. But now you have your cost of debt service, right? Meaning your loan payment. Your loan payments are not factored onto your profit and loss statement, right? And so typically, let's say those payments are, let's say $15,000 a month, 180 grand a year. So minus 400,000, that leaves you with 220,000 of profit. And then you're not going to take all the money out of the business, right? If you're making that much in profit, you have to keep money to float the expenses. So you need to keep some sort of buffer in your business bank account. So, okay, at the end of the day, you wind up paying yourself 125 grand a year, maybe 100 grand off of one location. So this is why you hear about people owning 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 locations in food businesses because the margins are so low and the cost of debt is high. You typically need multiple locations in order to be able to pay yourself any sort of meaningful income. Well, does that mean you'll go broke? With 38,000 locations, I doubt that that's the case. So, hey, if you like this sort of video, subscribe, hit the like button before you go. I make a bunch of these reaction videos, as well as just business videos in general, sharing our journey of growing and building franchise empire. So I doubt that you're going to go broke owning a McDonald's with 38,000 locations open. Now, something that did almost go broke and into bankruptcy, they actually went into bankruptcy, was Red Lobster. You guys might have heard of it. And the story behind them going into bankruptcy and their new CEO turning around their business. He's only 35, 36 years old. If you haven't heard about it, you can click this video and watch it right here and see the reaction and breakdown to Red Lobster going bankrupt.